Welcome to the Vergecast. The Vergecast is a place where we talk about our lives, our loves gone wrong, and our lives gone right. I'm Neil Patel.
And gadgets.
Gadgets!
I'm Paul Miller.
I'm Ross Miller.
Wow.
That was that kind of scared me.
This was intended to be extremely romantic and deep, and you guys just...
I blame him. But whoa!
Oh, God. Oh, that's terrible.
The romance is dead.
Wow. Really, the love is truly gone in this room.
Oh, that's painful.
I'm still
So
adjusting.
let me explain what's happening with the love cast today.
Yeah.
It's the love cast.
What sounds romantic to the audience, and I'm sure that you think this is romantic, is really just my voice being shot from CES, just completely destroyed.
You know what,
Ross? I believe you're sick too.
I'm getting better.
So Paul, you're
better.
basically in a hotbed of disease.
You said hot.
I came home and my roommate has like bronchitis or something,
Yeah.
and I'm doing fine,
You're doing great.
which is real. I'm thankful.
You're not
Yeah.
weakened by the internet.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, so it goes. So anyway, look, we're back. We're back from CES.
Yes.
From an insane week. Paul, you use technology like deeply and seriously for a whole week.
I looked at it at least.
Yeah, you examined it.
I held that Huawei, that 6-inch Huawei. That's like
It wasn't
so
connected?
stupid.
I have a lot to say about that.
Everything's
6-inch Huawei,
connected.
by the way.
Say what?
Because I hate the word phablet. I despise
Oh
it.
yeah,
I think
dude.
it's the worst.
No, I
worst
just read
word.
about that in the Wall Street Journal. Bad word.
It's a terrible word, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, they're just phones, right? They just run phone apps.
Right.
They're just gigantic phones.
If you have to come up with a new word to try to pretend that the thing
Is a tablet?
is a phone or a tablet,
Well, no, they were just pretending that it's a tablet.
Right.
It's how they're like sneaking in this
Like
idea.
a tablet
that-
that makes phone calls.
Right, but it's not because it's just a phone. Like it doesn't run any of the tablet apps. What little of them there are.
right? But basically, what they're trying to say is like, look, this is clearly too big to put into your pocket. This is it's really large. It's silly large.
You're very
Yeah,
mad
right.
about this.
Preposterously.
Preposterously large.
Preposterously.
No, but it's not
large.
because we thought the Galaxy Note was preposterously large. You're fired, Paul.
Preposterously large.
We thought it was stupid looking, right?
it was
but
so
now,
large.
But that's like what 5.3, and now 5-inch.
There are
1080p
physics.
phones
There
are
are
like
physics.
the
There's physical constraints to how large of something that you can like mount on your hip.
Why would-
Well, no. You just
Okay,
get
first
bigger
of all,
hips.
you shouldn't.
That's the American way.
Yeah, that's
Unless
true.
you're like
you are getting larger
Laura
as a
Croft.
people.
Like Laura Croft can put all sorts of guns and stuff on her.
And also
hips.
Batman.
Batman.
That's more on his waist though.
Well, it's all around.
Yeah, I was like, where does he get
It's
these
like a
wonderful
utility belt.
phablets?
It's a utility belt.
You don't do that.
I'm saying like, as far as our pockets are concerned, we've reached the limit.
Right. No, I mean I disagree.
Wait, what about flexible
And that's why you have to
phablets?
call it a tablet. It's like you need to store this in the same way you store a
You
tablet.
need to have this in the same way that you have a tablet.
Yes.
I hear what
But
you're saying. I just hate that word, and I think
a
it's a
terrible
lie
word.
because it makes people think like, oh, this phone has the utility of a tablet. And when people think tablet, they still think iPad. So like, oh, this phone has the utility of an iPad, and they're like, no, that's a lie. That's not true. It's just a gigantic
Except
phone.
for the Note.
The Note is like, it's just whatever.
Snow.
People love the Note. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, at least that has functionality that is like different or beyond a phone in a way.
Right.
But I still don't want to call it a phablet.
I'm not doing it. That's just not.
I think we should just call everything phones.
There's-
If it can make a call, it's a phone.
Yeah, it's
if
fine.
if the TV has Skype, it's a phone.
Well, yeah, but it's I don't know who's. I said this. I like it.
Yeah,
the
I
TV
know.
has Skype.
I know.
It's a phone.
Your car, it's a phone now.
Your car is a phone. Your car has been a phone for a long time. And actually, I bet if you asked like Ford or GM, they would be
Right.
very happy for teenagers to think of their cars as phones.
Yeah.
because the teens
They're
like,
so with it now.
In all
every-
the surveys, they're
every
like,
2
"Man, I
years you
really
get a
want
new
a
one."
phone." And Ford's like, "Check out this phone. Huh? It has 300 horsepower."
It'll hold all your phablets.
That's ridiculous. All right, anything else we need to talk about from CES? Ross and I were trying to brainstorm.
I mean, honestly, like I am so burnt out from CES. We talked so
Literally,
much about
listen
it.
to my voice. This is the sound of pain.
Yeah, we really did all the talking about CES at CES. I'm gonna need a good like 3 to 6 months to think about.
I'm just trying to heal. Like,
I
literally
cannot-
trying to heal.
I cannot wake up like at a reasonable hour right now. I'm still on West Coast time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like recovering from disease or if it's.
No, I was telling you this story. I came home from dinner last night, 9:30, It was a long, delicious dinner.
Right.
And I sat down on the couch next to Becky, and I literally tilted over and fell asleep. And then at 10 a.m. this morning, I tilted back up and was awake. Like, I didn't even, like, make it. Like, that was just it. Like, I'm broken. I'm gone.
I got back from CES, and, like, because I was outside a lot, because walking or skating from the hotel to the trailer and back, you know, saw some outdoors. And it's bright. It's, like, sunny there, even though it's winter. And I got back to my apartment. It's just so dark in my apartment. I just hate it. So I got one of those sun boxes or light box.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It's like regular
it's like
light.
So bright. I think I got a sunburn from my first use. But anyways, that's my
only Paul Miller.
That's my solution.
I bought a light bulb and it hurt me.
And I got alarm clock. I got 2 things from the same light store. I like upselled myself on the phone, and I got one of those alarm clocks that brightens slowly when it wakes you.
Oh yeah.
I used that this morning. It didn't help.
Didn't help. I had an alarm clock for the deaf when I was in law school that shook the bed.
Oh yeah.
And I learned to sleep through it.
Wait, shook the entire bed?
It had this thing. It would like shake your bed.
That is amazing.
It was for the deaf, right?
Well, I mean, the deaf and like the people who just like to sleep.
I didn't. And the chronically hungover. But it was in my room and it would go off and it was like really. And my roommate always had this terrible like dilemma of do I turn off Neli's alarm clock by flipping the circuit breaker and taking myself away from this terrible noise. But at the same time, if he did that, the router was in my room. So do I kill the wireless? So he would just pound on it.
Your room was locked. He didn't want to go in there for some reason.
My door was locked.
Oh.
Who knows what I did, man? Just made a lot of weird decisions.
Right.
I'm trying to think of a solution. He could like do like a targeted EMP. Oh wait, the router.
Wait, the router
is in there.
Shoot.
No, I mean, he
have a
talks
window?
about this and like very pained. I mean, this is years and years ago.
Right.
Now.
Did you have a window to your room?
Oh yeah, there's someone. I mean, it was he could shimmy up the side.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
But he usually just flipped the circuit breaker. Anyway, I would say just to wrap up CS.
We're still waking up from CES.
We're still waking up from CS. Someone's going to flip the breaker and take out our internet. We have a few things coming out actually still from CS.
Right. We had one come out I think yesterday that was big. We didn't talk about the China.
Yeah,
report.
Adrian did a cool report on the rise of Chinese companies. So like Huawei, TCL, Hisense.
Right.
You should read it. It's good. She has a video. It's interesting.
I mean, Hisense was big because it took Microsoft's like booth, which is such an iconic thing. And then TCL today is actually one of the big sponsors of Iron Man 3. So when that movie comes out,
insane.
TCL is going to be everywhere.
Adrian has a line in her report that's the trailer of Iron Man 3 they were showing in the TCL booth was so bad that like people thought it was pirated. Like, they didn't believe because the TV doesn't looks really bad.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Is this a pirated copy of Iron Man 3?"
I was thinking about that. A lot of there's so much bad content on display at CES, or like because they're like desperate to show something to show off their 4K. Or back in the day, it was like 60p or 120p content. I saw whatchamacallit, Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
Remastered in 4K.
Oh.
But it had also been remastered from 24 frames per second to 30 frames per second. Not upscaled by the TV, but remastered somehow. And the guy at the Samsung, it just looked terrible. It looked like somehow it was stop motion.
Right. Yeah.
It was really bad.
Because there's not more frames. You can't do it.
Idiots. But so apparently the guy who...
Bastards! Ben-Hur, such a classic of cinema. Yeah, you got it.
The guy who did the remastering apparently kept on going by the booth and like telling everybody that like
this wasn't it.
This was not my decision to do it like this.
Leah, our operations assistant, and I, we were walking through the Samsung booth and we were looking at like the big, beautiful TVs, and she goes, "Man, I really want one of these, but I also want this like footage of like delicious food constantly playing." I mean, that's what you need.
Yeah,
that's what I want. Is a giant television that only shows me delicious
4K.
foods.
Or there's a lot of stuff like in like quaint like Asian villages.
Yeah.
It's like generic Asian villages.
No, that was and also carnivals, happy people dancing.
Yeah.
Like, if you buy one of these TVs, you're only going to look at pictures of celebrations.
Right.
In one way or another. Whether that celebration is a delicious steak or cupcake.
It's all footage of stuff
whether it's
that
carnival.
like, this is like the calm that like sets up a movie before some horrible disaster happens.
Yeah, no, this is it's the meet cute.
Right.
And then the explosion.
Yeah.
But the explosion also looks terrific.
But on the China thing, I was thinking about this today and how like rapidly Samsung has kind of just taken over from Apple.
Yeah.
Just ripped market share, and it seems almost entirely the Galaxy S3 and the Note a little bit, but like it's just such a rapid, dramatic thing. And it's like Samsung finally found a real differentiator. It was like, let's just make a really big screen, and people want that, and they found something and they delivered it, and it's good,
right?
And so people want it, and I think that's a recipe for success. And I think if one of these Chinese companies, they clearly want it. They're
really small screens.
Their quality is like ramping up, and I held that Huawei phone. I was like, I hate this. This is so large, but it felt good. The screen, like there was a time when there was a real quality gap, and that's disappearing.
Well, then they're all making them in the same factories, right? I mean, it makes a little bit of sense
too. Yeah.
But the thing with Samsung is, well, there are two things, and I remember who said this to me at CES. They were like, the phones are gonna get bigger. Like the idea that the phone has to be small is tied to a generation of people who think the utility of a phone is making a phone call. But like that's not what most people think anymore. They think it's for browsing the web or looking at photos or playing games, and that like demands a bigger screen. So like they were like, God, I wish I'm just going to take credit for this. This is my thought, not the stranger's thought.
Right. Of course.
But they were like, if in Zoolander 1, the phones are getting smaller as a sign of status, right? Because they were just voice devices. If you made Zoolander 2, you would have a gigantic phone.
I think they are making
because that
Zoolander
is
2.
Well, but that's it. But that's like
we'll see it.
Is the
go ahead. That's my idea. By the way.
They need to make
the person who told me that idea.
Either way.
Obviously,
they need to make a Zoolander sequel. Right. This is just a plea for Zoolander.
Ben Stiller,
we're starting the petition, onlinepetition.org, whatever it is, and
onlinepetition.org,
whatever. But
this is the new White House petition.
I mean, it is the inevitable. So I'm already thinking about. We were talking about this when I go back to the internet, getting like a Nexus 4 and then keeping my Huawei for a while and then getting an iPhone. I mean, if you have a phablet, it doesn't stick in your foot.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that to me on this show? I'm your friend.
It's true. I need to value that friendship.
Yes.
I take it for granted all the time.
Why?
If you have a really, really large phone that's almost silly large, almost a tablet,
or a very small tablet,
and you don't want to keep that in your pocket, but you want to have an easily accessible, like a Bluetooth headset, but it's a handset, and it's got a keypad on it, or it's just like a tiny little thing with a screen, maybe like a 3-inch or 2.5-inch screen. You can scroll through your contacts and make phone calls,
like a smartwatch.
No, but you need to be able to hold it to your head and make phone calls.
Hello.
Like this. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Eli,
what's up, buddy?
This would
be rad. If you could do this to make voice calls. Hello. Right here.
With the fingers too.
Little 2 rings. I think I actually saw that concept. I think that was a Motorola concept at CES.
It's in Sky Mall now too.
Yeah.
That's the future.
2 rings?
Yeah, 2 rings. But for now, I think we need like tiny little phones that connect to your large phone over Bluetooth.
Hello. 2 rings.
Because it's ridiculous. I need something I can take out of my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, look, just get bigger pockets.
Yeah.
And I will say this. I
live an active lifestyle.
How big is the Nexus 4? Is 5 inches,
my
right?
legs.
I think it's less. I think it's like 4.7.
So it's just under.
Yeah.
I played with the, and I find the Nexus phone to be fine. Some people think it's too big, but I think it's fine. It's a great phone, except for the LTE. But I played with Sony's. There are tons of 5-inch 1080p phones at CES.
Right.
I think that's like it. That's the sweet spot. That's where they're going.
It's just
because anything bigger than that is like insane. Right. Did you play with Sony's? Sony's is very nice.
It's ergonomically. I don't know. I just don't like it.
Anyway, let's move on. What's what is not CES news?
What is not CES news is
let's just go back to CES.
No,
you go back to CES.
It will hurt me.
I'm going to take a break from that.
Yeah.
It would be Google CEO Larry Page, who has not talked in a very long time. Gave the interview to Stephen Levy.
So here's the weird thing about this interview. So it's a good interview. You should read it. It's in Wired. It's Stephen Levy, so he's very good at interviewing people. But Page has been a ghost.
Yes.
To the point where there were rumors that he was sick in some way because he wasn't visible, he wasn't out there, wasn't doing Google stuff. The weird thing about this interview is that there's a part of it where they talk about the ITU regulating the internet and a link. And Levy's like, there's a link on the Google homepage about protesting this ITU decision. That was like months ago, or maybe a month ago. So this interview was done a while ago and published today, which I think is very interesting. The other really interesting thing about that timing is that in there, Page says Facebook makes bad products. Which is 2 days ago.
Whoa.
2 days ago, Facebook And he also says, Levy asked him about patent lawsuits, and they asked him about Apple, obviously, and he goes, well, how well is that going for them? Which is like very snarky and cool.
But was there? Did we figure it out? Like, is he alive?
He's obviously there. But like, what I think is really interesting is that the interview came out, and there's this quote about Facebook making bad products.
Right.
Like 2 days after Facebook released a search engine.
Wired is like, it's a magazine. It's a long lead time, like you said. This
is probably in the print magazine, probably done. But like,
you said it was done about a month or so ago.
Think so. I don't remember exactly.
It's got a dated reference.
Like literally, CES for me just erases my sense of time.
Right.
There's things that happened before CES.
Right.
And that's just what all of those things.
I was biking up
in that time period.
I was biking up here today,
now.
And there's like a new bike lane on 9th Ave, but it looks worn in.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I was like, how?
Because you were in Vegas for 5 days.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And like, your 5 days are like 6 years.
It's like Lion Witch of the wardrobe, and you go to the wardrobe and you come back out. No, that's opposite of that.
Wait,
time goes faster inside the wardrobe.
No, time goes because when you come out of the wardrobe, it's like no time has passed.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
so it's the opposite.
We're
of that.
not in the wardrobe right now.
How many dreams deep are you in?
No, we are back in the wardrobe. CES is the real world.
That
No,
denied.
I refuse to believe.
Does not compute.
Okay.
The idea of CES being the real world is the worst. Although it kind of is. Like that's the state of nature. Like there are no laws, no rules, no checks on morality.
Right.
You can
really
just do
view,
whatever.
It's like
you
Lord
want.
of the
Vegas
Flies.
such a weird but accurate light.
Yeah. No, it is. It's the state of nature. It's what is it? Ghastly, cruel, and short. Thomas Hobbes. Nasty, brutish, and short. That's what it is.
I'm going to stick with the Lord of the Flies reference
Yeah.
and just
Slice
the pig, slit his throat.
Ghoulish. I don't know.
So there was no big news from the Larry Page.
Well, I mean, those are the two things, and I think it's really interesting that you're right. Long lead times. This interview was obviously done a while ago, but it's interesting in the sense that he's obviously still running the company. He says he wants to improve everything 1,000%. There's a really great story in there from an engineer who's like a Google X engineer who's like, I could walk in there with a time machine, plug it in, and be like, look, this works, and Page would be like, why does it need power? Right. I mean, I like that sense.
Larry Page tells that story?
No, well, one of the engineers tells that about Larry
Right.
Page and like the level of improvement that he wants constantly.
Right.
And I think that's great. I think it's great that there's a company that's like this devoted to bonkers
Well, and
innovation.
I think Apple clearly with the iOS felt like it's good enough for a while, and that's been a real problem with them. And the fact that Android keeps getting better is big credit. But I like that mentality.
No,
That's cool.
it's great. But what I think is really interesting is particularly this quote about Facebook making bad products is because at the Facebook event they asked about Google, because Facebook has search. Do you know about this?
So I read cursory. Facebook is making search out of your friend's data.
So it's called Graph Search, which is a terrible name, just a stupid name. Just look at.
Well, they
Facebook.
knew social graph is a stupid term, so they just
we're doubling down.
Why
on
don't they call it
stupidity.
social search?
That's good. Anything other than Graph Search. It's like, what kind of?
I mean, it's like so.
Like search through all your PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah, exactly. I made a number of pie charts in 2007. Help me find them.
So I mean, like it's like
It's just a stupid name. What?
oh, I can't top that.
Anyway, so it allows you to do natural language search across all your friends' data, but it's one of these Facebook products that assumes everybody uses Facebook like Facebook employees.
Right.
So if you work at Facebook, it's probably great because you can type in all the restaurants in Palo Alto that my friends under 27 like.
I have to check in and like things.
Right, and that data set exists. But it doesn't exist. So we, Dieter and Ellis were at the event. Thomas Houston did a hands-on afterwards, and they were like, it works, but in severely limited ways because the data set isn't there for most people.
Well, the note that really stuck out to me is that it's starting out on their website,
Right.
and then it will come to mobile.
Right, so-
and the thing is, they need all the data that they want in this needs to come from mobile.
Oh yeah.
So they're doing it backwards, and it's. I mean, they really sound. It's so funny. They sound like an old company.
Yeah.
Let's put it on our website.
No,
we need a web presence.
So Tim wrote a report on this on the site, which you can't read.
Right.
We should just make a list of things that you have to read when you come back that were published on the
I get handed articles on thumb drives from time to time.
Wait, is like some kind of.
very quaint.
Do you have like a shadow market of like art material?
I roomed with Trent. No, I get them straight from the source. So I roomed with Trent.
No middleman. No cutting.
I roomed with Trent at CES, so I got his like piece on Carly Rae Jepsen.
That's good. Yeah.
Adderall. Really,
you're months behind the curve.
I know.
Right
I'm very excited.
Well, you should take Adderall at the end and read all the articles.
I do take Adderall, but
Well,
not
take
that much.
more of it.
Not that much.
OD, AD.
No.
No? Okay. No, Tim wrote a piece, and the headline of the piece was, "For Facebook Mobile always comes tomorrow." Right? And that's exactly right.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They know how to make money on the desktop, so they're innovating on the desktop, which is fair, but their problems with investors and the public is basically that the world is going mobile.
Right.
So people want to use Instagram because it's a mobile-first application and not Facebook. And that's why they bought Instagram.
But they tip toes on mobile too, but they do it in like this way. Like it's definitely not to make money. It's just to experiment, like this voice over IP
or Poke, right? I mean, it's like, how is
What
it that
is
you can
Poke
spin up Poke as a mobile application in like 2 seconds, and like you're like, we spent 2 years building search that maybe no one wants.
But okay,
and like that was Ellis's question. So there was a Q&A at the end of the event, and Ellis's question was, how do you know that this is what people want?
Right.
And Mark Zuckerberg was like, we don't, but we think they do.
I mean, it is a step toward like things we want to see. Like Siri was supposed to be a natural language thing you could talk to. Google now is like, we don't want natural language. We're just going to know what you want because you do.
No, there's an
with
element
us.
of this where it's like, like I think most people have this dream where like they constantly have this like assistant, and
Right.
like the assistant's aware of your network. So it's like you can be like, who do I know who's like really good at fixing cars, and like that person will answer the question for you. And like Facebook could do that, maybe, but like the reality of that is the way that you know that information about your network, the way you become like a connector or whatever that lame pop psychology term is by actually knowing the people. Right. Not by the people like downloading their skill sets and preferences into a computer by pressing buttons.
I did that today. I like a buddy of mine married this girl who studied like linguistics.
Yeah.
So I just called him. I haven't talked to him in like years.
Yeah.
And he turned out to be in a car with his wife, and I talked to her about linguistics today.
That's right, but like, there's no way Facebook could have like helped you.
I graph
with that.
searched it.
Yeah, manual graph search.
Well, I like the idea that Facebook could help me with that, but like Facebook needs to say, this is a great product. You might have to learn how to use it. I feel like Timeline was like that.
No, but this is the thing. This is like a feature. Like, that's great. They should have made this. Granted, that's what they should have done. But but they should have just rolled it out. Like, first of all, they had a press event.
Right.
They made reporters get on a bus to come to Facebook headquarters. Like, they made a big deal out of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Because they should have just put this out. Like, we're relying on graph search. We think it's really interesting. People are going to like it.
Right.
My compare and contrast is, what if this event, they'd done all the same things around it, and then they said, we made a kick-ass iPad app, right? And this is the best way to look at Facebook on the iPad. It's super visual. It's not so clunky. It's really fast. We think the best Facebook experience is on the iPad or Android or whatever tablet. I think that would have, like, people would have freaked out, right? They would have been like, this is, finally, Facebook is reinventing itself. Graph search is like, so I can do this thing that I never knew I wanted to do.
Well, so that's the thing. It's like it's one thing to create a great product that people have to learn how to use, but Facebook has created a product that people have to learn how to use and start using before it's actually a great product.
Right. And here's the problem. You and I talked about this a little bit yesterday. When Apple or Google just like does a big press event and you're getting there and you're excited, they say this is something that you can buy or you can make an active effort to get. Facebook is like, here's this thing that we're going to give to you whether you want it or not.
Right. You have to
So
make
what
a
are you going to
choice.
get excited about?
Right. Well, you get excited about stalking your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah,
like
but,
ex-girlfriends of mine who maybe want to get back together. It's like, that is definitely going to be like the number one query in the system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like ex-girlfriends of mine who have lowered their standards. Raised their standards.
Has she forgiven me yet?
No.
Just the word no.
Try to let her know.
Like, please, like, move
A
on.
single serving.
Like some Confucius
You
wisdom.
have to click the back button.
If you're asking this question to Facebook, probably not.
Right, but so the interesting thing about that is that we're joking about the dating site, but they made the explicit, like, this is a dating site. Like, you can use this for dating. You can be like, find single men who like this movie, and like it'll do it for you.
Right.
They're like journalists. There's a whole page they have on the website. Journalists can use this in the same way they use LinkedIn. So now we're competing with LinkedIn using graph search.
Right.
And then the
is not
final
that surprising,
piece
though.
is that they have. Well, it is. It's only surprising in the sense that they're making the explicit comparisons.
They said the word LinkedIn.
Well, they said journalists can use this, and that.
But at the same time, they
that's
also like this, like the private messaging thing they did a while back. But anyway,
but so they're like they're obviously like it's obvious. Find restaurants that my friends like is like let's compete with Yelp,
Yes.
right? Find single people that my friends know and like is like let's go for Match.com or whatever. Find journalists use this to source contacts is definitely like LinkedIn. And then the one thing that they didn't explicitly say was we're targeting Google. Which is weird because here's all the every other social network, but not Google. But they have Bing integration. You can like web search. It's like the last option, and it'll show you Bing results.
Right.
And they're like, we don't think a lot of people are going to use web search for this. But what's interesting is that they're building this huge social search.
It has
for
Bing integration.
Bing integration. What else are you going to have, man?
they're not going to do Google.
No,
Name another search
I
engine.
still stand by my maxim. I don't know when I put this forward, but I put it forward a long time ago. If you use Bing as your default search,
Yeah.
which is all based on like deal making, and
Yeah.
you don't want to be friends with Google, you don't care about your users. You're not putting them first, because what users actually want is Google. And if you choose Bing because you're not good friends with Google, you want to help out Microsoft, you made some cool, great handshake in a boardroom somewhere, you didn't put your users first, and it really, really pisses me off when companies use Bing.
Well, so
And I'm still seeing it.
Zuckerberg was like, well, we're happy to work with Google, which is funny because Page today was like, Facebook makes bad products. Right. So it's clear how the companies view each other.
Page also did say like we don't think Facebook has to lose for us to win.
Well, so here's the thing. So the reason Google Plus exists is because Google is aware that the future of search is these social recommendations.
Right.
They're
All
obviously
these
direct
additional
competitors.
social signals. And so they're trying to like edge into the market with Google Plus and compete with Facebook in that way. And they will swear up and down that Google Plus is not a competitor to Facebook, and they didn't build a regular social network and whatever they think Google Plus is doing. Right. And Facebook is swearing up and down that like web search is not the primary focus of the product; it's a social search. But really, they're both just lying.
Right.
Like fundamentally, it's like you're going to search for things. You're looking for answers on the internet, and either you're going to say to yourself, "My primary data set is my friends," or "My primary data set is Google's algorithm informed by my friends."
Right.
And it's like, wow. So now you're definitely on a collision course. And like, this is Facebook saying we are going to be the front door to the internet. Like, and I think Google in much the same way. Like, where do you start on the internet in the morning? Like, do you start on Facebook with your friends, or do you start on Google with like a wide open set of queries?
You ever do, like, let's say like, oh man, you ever like open up your browser, Chrome, and then you type in the address bar, which is a search bar now.
Yeah.
Right.
Google.
Yeah, all the time.
I love it when I do. It's just so
It's like
hilarious.
muscle memory.
Like imagine doing somebody do that on Facebook. Google.
I bet the number one search engines my friends like. That's all. They like Google.
Yeah.
Does Google have a like button on? I bet not. That'd be terrible.
A like button?
If I had a like button on its own page, so everybody could just like.
So
Google.
you could like Google.
I mean, that would like seriously.
You know,
There has to be a way to like Google, though.
Let's
right?
move on. Unless you have any more deep thoughts.
Well, I do think. I mean,
Paul's like, yes, I do.
Of course, I have deep thoughts. I mean, Facebook. The whole thing of liking and having like pages is kind of like a dated notion. It's not a hard fact.
Right.
It's like a pretty messy, amorphous, user selective thing. And I don't think I don't think it's aging very well.
No, it's not, because that's what I'm saying. You have to. If the data set is things my friends like, right? That data set is constantly evolving and changing, and I might like something today that I'm like over tomorrow. Right. Like I might like a movie today and then be totally sick of it tomorrow.
My Facebook profile specifically says I list books I like and some music I like, and under films it says I don't like movies.
All right.
All right. So let's.
You are truly beating the system.
Because I was like
there.
going through a phase where I didn't like movies, and I haven't updated in like however long, 6 years since
I was going through a phase where I didn't like movies.
I was watching a lot of TV.
Right. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. But to answer your query, 3,129 people in New York plus one Google.com.
That's amazing. I like
a
it.
lot of people. Let's move on. There's the other big story this year. This week.
What is this year? I mean,
And,
we're only
yeah,
just
so like
into it.
post CES, this feels like it's gone on forever. It's the 787 Dreamliner, this Boeing jet that's
I was told we have Chris on the
downed.
line.
And
Is
we
he-
have-
I also heard what you were hearing.
Yes,
okay, but
we-
you
so
guys
now
are
Ross
ignoring
is-
it.
Ross
You guys
is now-
hate.
This was the transition to getting Chris
Oh, I didn't
on.
know Chris knows about. I guess this doesn't make sense. I thought Chris was going to talk about Facebook, and then like, but then I was going to be
A
like,
look behind the scenes, the
then
Vergecast production.
I was going to be like, you know what? Chris is pretty good with like things like
Planes.
planes and cars and stuff like that, and trains.
And
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Wow.
Chris, are you there?
Hello.
This is the
Hey.
worst
Chris,
native TV
Chris,
magic.
I know.
Chris, what's your favorite train right now?
My favorite train. I think GE makes some pretty sweet locomotives.
I've actually driven a GE train simulator.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, because you went to GE that one time.
Yeah.
You know, they're upgrading the Amtrak to 4G, but all the articles were like, they're upgrading the Amtrak to 4G, but the Wi-Fi will still suck. Because it's still going to suck.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Chris, let's talk Dreamliner. Can you catch us up on what's going on? Why this plane is down? What happened?
Yeah. So basically, we've had a couple incidents in the past where the batteries, the lithium-ion batteries that power a lot of the systems on the aircraft, have basically started smoking. Which if you go back 10
That's
years,
so bad for them.
Why did they do that? Don't they know the warning signs?
Menthol or regular?
If you go back, I mean, like anyone who's been reading. Anyone who's been reading technology sites over the past decade knows that lithium-ion batteries run into issues every once in a while, and now Boeing is learning that firsthand. So, just to catch you up on what this Dreamliner is all about, historically, airliners have used hydraulic systems to power, different control surfaces in the aircraft that require more force than the human body of the pilot can provide. And the 787, to save weight, one of the things that it does is it uses electrical systems in place of some of these hydraulic systems. So that's why they need these giant batteries on, and that's where they're running into issues.
But just from a tech nerd perspective, I feel like we solved the exploding lithium-ion battery situation like years ago, right? Like Sony made a bunch of batteries and like laptops are exploding left and right. Like, isn't this problem solved? Were they just like,
Yes
hey,
and
we've
no.
got, was Boeing like, hey, Sony, do you have any leftover laptop batteries? And Sony was like, yes, we do. They haven't exploded yet.
As a matter of fact,
I mean, look, yes and no. Like, if you look at, the Chevy Volt, it had an issue last year where in certain impact situations, the battery could leak and start a fire. And so I think that there are still a lot of unanswered questions about the safety of lithium-ion chemistry. And especially when you're talking about a battery this big that powers systems this, big and powerful.
And
there are a lot of
important.
things that are unique to the environment of an aircraft that, this is a new situation. Batteries haven't been used in this way before.
So, but you were saying, you wrote a report today, but in your report, you're like, compared to like the 737 and the Airbus A320, which are both like the most common aircraft around now, this rate of incidents is not outside of the mainstream, right?
Yeah. If you look at, that's exactly right. If you look at every airliner in the sky today, whether it be the A320, the 737, the A380, the A330, whatever, all of these aircraft have had safety issues that have been, retroactively resolved after the aircraft launched through airworthiness directives issued by American and European aviation authorities. And these aircraft are now part of an extremely safe, aviation environment. In fact, 2012 was the safest year for air travel in the past 50 years.
But
So
let me ask you,
there's
but those
no-
were all. But I just in reading your thing, what struck me was the 737 and the Airbus stuff. They were all like basically mechanical issues, like this bushing is wearing out, or these what are they called, Pitot tubes, or like these need to be bigger. We'll get you a flash drive, Paul.
Toe tubes.
Don't let
You just made that up.
Pitot tubes, which sounds better. No, but it was like they were all mechanical issues, right? And what strikes me as being different about the Dreamliner is there have to be batteries, and the batteries have to not be on fire. Right. And like literally, like the FAA issuing a piece of paper that says, "Don't let those start on fire," is like not the same as like mandating that something change mechanically.
Yeah, but it could be as simple as a manufacturing issue in these batteries. At this point, we just don't know. But think about these airliners going back to the start of the jet age. Every single one of these aircraft is carrying literally thousands of pounds of jet fuel. And
my God.
And that seems to be okay. It's worked out okay for them.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to think that they won't be able to solve this issue with the batteries as well. I mean, EVs are now a common sight on roads across the U.S., and I'm sure I'm very confident.
Chris is a car nerd. Oh. He thinks EVs are electric vehicles.
Oh.
Chris, talk to the humans now. No, I hear what you're saying, and like I gather that Priuses aren't lighting on fire every day, but it seems like if I'm driving a Prius or a Volt or whatever, and I'm sitting on the stack of batteries and something goes wrong, I can like go away from them. I can like stop the car and like.
I think that's why the fault tolerance for planes is so low. But to Chris's point, I mean, these things are dramatically, insanely safe. Like really ridiculous, and that's why these are grounded right now. But yeah, I don't know.
You know what was interesting, Chris? And maybe I want you to talk about this a little bit too. The FAA this week also started its review of electronic devices during takeoff and landing. And I mean, to me, what's funniest about this is I bought noise canceling headphones finally, and if you have headphones with an LED, they'll just let you wear them because it's like that's the one thing that's allowed. Noise canceling headphones are allowed. So I'm sitting there just like jamming away to music because my headphones are allowed.
Yeah, they're always like, you can wear the headphones, but what are they plugged into? That's okay.
No, I think you're supposed to just sit there like quietly canceling noise.
Yeah.
but nobody listens to this rule, obviously.
Right.
So if you have headphones with an LED, you can just wear them.
But you can't wear regular headphones if they don't have an LED.
Well, because they know that they're not noise canceling. Because noise canceling headphones are allowed.
Oh, man.
And I never knew about this rule.
Really?
So I was like wearing them, and I was like getting ready to take them off, and she's like, "No, they're fine."
Oh my gosh! I don't want to pack noise canceling headphones.
Here's the thing that people need to realize about the FAA. It's yes, it is an extremely bureaucratic organization, but it is one of the few cases where it works to everyone's advantage because they need literally years of study and rulemaking to figure out what the optimal and safest way is to deal with these kinds of situations. And I don't like. I know it's really frustrating that you can't read your stupid Kindle for 8 minutes and your phone reaches 10,000 feet. I get it, but like deal with it. Like I'd rather in fact, I wrote an editorial about this on the site about a year ago. Like I would much rather the FAA take its sweet time, triple checking the safety of this. Rather than letting people just go hog wild. I mean, it just isn't that.
But what I'm suggesting to you, Chris, is that the people have already gone hog wild, right? Like I don't turn my phone off. I never even put my iPad in a tablet mode or in airplane mode.
But there are
nobody turns their phone off.
I turn my phone off.
You have a Huawei flip phone. Yeah. Turning your phone off is the same as putting it in a standby.
I used to turn my iPhone off.
You're a maniac. I mean, I don't know anybody who turns their phone off, regardless of the repeated warnings.
A lot of people at least do airplane mode, though. A lot of people turn off their radios.
Well, yeah,
but you're supposed to turn them all the way off.
I know you're supposed to,
and I
but
never put my iPad in airplane mode.
But like, it is
sleep.
not a wild rodeo in there yet. But Chris is wrong. I mean,
but I'm wearing the noise cancelers, man. Like I'm doing it.
I've gotten really good at like avoiding the stewardess, like when they're like walking by, like.
Oh God, no! Everybody's some sort of like.
I don't see. That's weird. I don't want to be like a secret agent on a plane.
No.
That's why I just pack a book.
But
what crazy offline world you live in?
Anyway, of course you pack a book. What else would you do?
I could read on my iPad.
Paul pulls out the giant Game Boy black and white Tetris.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be great. It's still the best version. Anyway.
What else on our list? Is Chris sticking around?
I mean, Chris, we want to stick around. I mean, we need to talk a little bit about Aaron Swartz, and then let's move on to a couple of the bigger things. And let's just wrap up.
Chris, do you want to stick around?
I would love to. I might puke or cough during this, and I apologize.
Welcome. No, you don't understand.
I mean,
sure.
We've all been sneezing or blowing our nose.
You're a little
or hacking
band with
up here.
Chris, are you calling us from an Amtrak train?
Or the air?
I'm on the 787 right now.
Oh, well, he's on the ground then. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Aaron Swartz just a little bit.
Very little bit. Because I mean, we're still getting caught up on the story.
Okay, I'll do the short amount of background. So the Aaron Swartz, and I forgive me for not having all the details here because this happened mostly while we were at CES, and I just didn't have time to read everything. So there was Aaron Swartz is an internet activist, tragically committed suicide last week. And I mean, his list of accomplishments, he was very young, 26?
26 or 25.
26.
26. But young and just brilliant. So
RSS at 14.
RSS at 14 was John Gruber's only beta tester for Markdown, which is
I didn't know that.
And co-founder of Reddit.
Right.
All sorts of other hacktivist
I think his
projects.
company got acquired by Reddit.
Yeah, but like
His company got acquired, by it, but he was so
acquisition.
early in the mix that
Right.
it was Lawrence Lessig or Tim Wu who said it was so early that he might as well have been a founder.
Okay.
And not to mention like everything he did for Reddit after that, like all the code base, like.
Right. He was a genius.
Yeah.
But the thing that got him the most notoriety and most attention was that he hacked into JSTOR, which is an academic database of journal articles, right? And when I was in college, I used it. When I was in law school, I used it, and it's useful. It's this tool that you can like log into. The schools pay a lot of money for you to have access to it, and it's every academic journal goes into it. And so
is that like LexisNexis?
it's kind of like
Very
LexisNexis,
similar, yeah.
right?
Is that like another version?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're all just different.
Okay.
LexisNexis kind of does the Lexis side of Lexis is all the court decisions and things.
Okay.
The Nexus side is news. JSTOR is academic journal.
Okay.
So there's different categories of thing. So Aaron, I think stupidly, I think we can all agree that this was not an optimal course of action. Broke into a closet at MIT, installed a laptop that ran scripts to download everything from JSTOR.
Right.
And the cat and mouse back and forth a few times. They cut off the laptop's access. He went and physically installed the laptop. He got caught on a video camera and was sued or prosecuted by the government for federal copyright infringement, which is criminal copyright infringement. JSTOR dropped its charges and said, please don't do this again. He was like, fine.
Yeah.
MIT kind of like wavered and did nothing, as far as I can tell.
Well, then they're currently investigating further what actually they did to help with the prosecution case because they're not entirely clear right now.
But so it's JSTOR is like, they were like, whatever, we're academics.
Victimless crime, essentially.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so all this happened. The prosecutors in the case pushed very, very hard to prosecute him for criminal copyright infringement. And on the table, as part of his plea bargain, was up to 35 years in jail,
Right.
Which is stupid.
But but they were saying like if he pleads guilty, it could be as low as 6 months.
Right.
Right, but the key there is just to plead guilty
Right.
to all of the charges. So there's a lot of questions about prosecutorial discretion.
Right.
Right, like because the prosecutors have a choice. I don't think people really know this. When you're the DA or whoever, like you get to choose exactly what you're going to charge, what you're going to ask for. It's and the law is built that way, right? Because the idea is the prosecutor will make a choice, and in this case, they chose. And there's a lot of talk that he'd also set up a similar program called Recap. So there's the government operates a federal court database called Pacer. So when we covered Apple versus Samsung, we were in Pacer every day, downloading all the court files every night. And so his is called Recap, and it's people taking things off of Pacer, which has a fee, and putting it up into a free system called Recap, which was they wanted to prosecute him for that, but it's legal, so they couldn't because everything government makes is open.
He did that
source.
through like libraries or
public
something.
domain. No, he had like people doing it, but everything the government creates is public domain, so there's nothing to charge.
Right.
Anyway, so all this happens. He was also very depressed and tragically took his own life. And now there's like this explosion of outrage. And to me, I agree, like outrage as a general concept is there. But the outrage to me, should be directed at like, why was he being charged with criminal copyright infringement? Right. Not our laws are so broken or he should have definitely stolen everything from JSTOR. Like that. It's one of those things where the government has a lot of discretion and it needs to use it wisely.
Right.
But in this case, like breaking into a closet.
So there's a couple other facts that have made this like such a high profile issue. Number one, the family immediately came out. The first letter was like, "This is the
the family's
like the finger was pointed pretty harshly at that point. Number two, that prosecutor is also linked to another hacker suicide.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't know that. That's terrible.
Yeah. Was it? I'm trying to look. So they accused Stephen Heyman of like pushing this the prosecutor pushing so hard that this caused Swartz to like, you know.
Wow, I didn't know that.
There was another person. I'm trying to think. He was thought to be JJ. This is from BuzzFeed, by the way. WJJ, the unindicted co-conspirator named in the criminal complaints for another trial, he also committed suicide years before.
This is ridiculous.
So it's like
that's ridiculous.
Like there's a lot of like evidence, and like this is just there's a habit of pushing these hacker crimes so hard
right.
with these like these people who are just like not in a good state of mind and like.
Well, I mean,
I know. Sorry.
Well, I mean, saying that pushing the I mean, drawing the direct connection, I think, is very tenuous. But
right.
I will say, and Josh Kopstein is actually working on a piece, which is great on this. The government is in a moment of pure freak out over what people can do on computers and how we think about what they do on computers, and that is linked to everything from these guys stealing public domain court files and journal articles that don't make their academic owners any money anyway, to things like hacking Stratfor and getting credit card numbers, to things like taking down PlayStation Network, to things like WikiLeaks. And it's a broad spectrum. Like, the level of things that are wrong there is like you can pick and choose. Like, some things are actually crimes, some things are not. And some things should be prosecuted and like vilified, and some things should not be. And there's a huge gray area in between there. And the government doesn't know about that. They don't know how to deal with it.
You cross a line, and it's pretty black and white as far as if you're doing. I mean, like, if you look at Bradley Manning, right? Bradley Manning is like the main person in the WikiLeaks case, right? Like, he's been subjected to pretty terrible treatment by our government. And his trial is ongoing, and it's not being covered by the media at this point. Like, really hasn't been covered very thoroughly by the media because the government has so thoroughly vilified him as he stole a thumb drive full of documents. Which one's Bradley Manning? Is that the military guy who?
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
He's been covered pretty. I
mean,
mean,
his trial. Have you read? You read the paper every day. Do you know his trial is currently ongoing?
No.
Do you know that do you know that we have a reporter there every day who's like writing something?
No.
Well,
so I haven't heard of anything about him in a while, I guess.
Because the rest of the media
he got a lot of cover, like maybe
when it
about
happened,
a year,
right? But his
ago.
trial is ongoing and it's not being covered.
Okay.
Which is crazy. Like, that is crazy.
Yeah, the Aaron Swartz thing is really sad, and I don't really like the dramatic, rapid finger pointing. These sound like things that need to be. These are policies that need to be worked on. It does seem like we need more granularity as far as prosecuting in what's what, because he obviously broke the law.
Right. So the distinction for me
I think that's the when you start, like, I don't know. I don't like a lot of blame shifting or this rapid desire to point fingers when something tragic like this happens.
Right.
Well, I mean, he was very young and very brilliant, and I think people are rightfully so very, very angry that he was put in this position. And his parents, obviously, pissed, right?
But let me ask you something. Just to kind of get a clarification, the prosecutor was still this is just to the letter of the law as we can currently interpret it. Like, it's how he was being treated and charged.
The prosecutor could have not charged him.
Okay.
Like, that is the level of prosecutorial discretion. Like, they're not it's literally the first part of Law and Order versus the second part of Law and Order. Like, that's how you should think of this in your mind. Like, the evidence was collected, he was arrested, and the prosecutors can do whatever they want. And they do have the discretion to not file the charges in return for any number of things. And they do have the discretion to not demand guilty pleas, right? They can demand what happens all the time, no contest, right? Not an admission of guilt. That's perfectly reasonable. But I think, to your point, Paul, what I think is more important is that we don't know how to think about people doing bad things on the internet with their computer keyboards. Right. Like, we don't know how to judge this. If you had broken into a bank and literally stolen files out of the bank, or if you had broken into a library and literally taken the journals out of the library, we would know. Like, we would that was wrong. He shouldn't have done that. Like, if he had broken into a Blockbuster and copied all their videotapes and sold them, we would know. Like, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. Like, your level of effort to commit this wrong we can balance that by some level of punishment. But what he did was type on a keyboard.
No, and he didn't just do that. There was a level of effort. He snuck in. He broke into a place he shouldn't be and bypassed physical security.
But what I'm saying is, even that is like like I did that shit when I was in college.
Well, here's
I did, you know.
Here's the interesting to use your metaphor. Like if he went into a library and stole all those books or all those academic journals, like if we know there'd be a crime, he also took those away from someone else. Like
Yeah,
when
I get that. And we don't know how to do copy. Like
Yeah.
our sense of
we still don't know how to prosecute people who steal MP3s.
we don't. No, we don't. I think that's the thing is we don't know what to do with this stuff.
He's
And
caught. This
what's
guy
happening
got caught
is
in that
while
gray area.
while we're spinning our wheels trying to figure out how are we going to deal with people acting on the internet, which is now just real life. Where the government is way behind, right? And the people are getting more sophisticated. And what's happening is we're like, screw it. We'll just apply regular IRL law to things on the internet. And the imbalance is, for the most part, it's just kids typing on keyboards. Right.
Well, and I don't know, I'm really speaking out of ignorance here, but I do imagine this sort of the knee-jerk reaction to the fact that, like you said, the government is way out of its depth here. There are horrible things that are being done by kids behind keyboards right now.
There are. There are.
A lot of, and I do think there's an aspect of wanting to be able to prosecute the horrible things to a full extent of a very hard-nosed law.
Right.
It's just figuring out, but the definitions are so broad because the technology changes so quickly.
Right.
But I would like to see, I would really like to see some examples of the horrible people doing horrible things behind their keyboards being brought to justice, because I do think there's an aspect of just, well, let's make an example of a hacker, so other hackers are scared. I'd like some examples to be made of lulsec and anonymous guys who are, ruining lives of individuals that they attack, and stealing credit cards and all the larger things that they do.
No, I mean, but I think what you're getting at is the problem, which is the government thinks it's accomplishing that goal.
Right.
And it clearly thinks it's accomplishing that goal by taking down like high-profile, well-known. If Aaron Swartz can get in trouble, then you can too. Anonymous is
right.
That message has never worked in the history of the internet.
Right.
I don't think Aaron Swartz is sitting there thinking about Kevin Mitnick and being like, man, I shouldn't do this. I think he's thinking, I think he was thinking rather, that he was doing some greater social good and it was worth whatever risk he was taking.
Right.
And I think that's the history of activism. And I think there's a way to respect what those people are doing and there's a way to punish what Anonymous is doing when it takes down PlayStation Network.
Right.
I think that's fair. Do you want to move on? This has been sad enough. Chris, do you have any thoughts? Chris is done.
I've been talking to Chris. He's hacking up a lung right now.
I was explaining to Ross in chat just a minute ago that I was busy hacking my lungs out that entire time.
Oh.
So let's do one more topic real quick and let's try to wrap this up. This is the story that came out last night. Manti Te'o. Am I saying that right?
Oh God. This is like in terms of things that matter. This is like far on the other side. What was that?
Okay, this is another behind the scenes. The voice of God from the booth just tried to correct the pronunciation.
How do you say it?
Manti
Te'o.
No way. No way.
Right. It's not right. It's Manti Te'o. Manti.
This guy claims to be an
You can't
SB
just
Nation
pronounce
guy.
it any way you want.
Can we put this voice of God on the
you're
air?
Just making everyone is different that you're doing.
Brendan Will, can we
Say
put
it
you
one more
on the air
time.
to
Say it
argue
one
with
more
us on
time.
this?
Manti Te'o.
Manti Te'o?
I don't believe anyone.
No.
Look, MT.
Yeah.
And I honestly like to come from the one story to this story is so strange.
I mean,
do you know what's going on?
I heard he got pranked by somebody.
No, it's far
way
stupider
worse than that. Yeah.
Or like hoax, like an internet hoax.
Way stupider than that.
Scammer.
Just explain, because I don't think it's a completely trivial thing. I think it's very tragic, but not in the same light.
Tragic. So he was a football player at Notre Dame,
right?
Star defensive player, and very good.
And then Notre Dame lost really hard.
They lost to Alabama really hard. But anyway, so he's going to go in the first round of the draft. He's really good. But he was, before they played Michigan State, there are all these news reports that just before the game, his grandmother has died and his girlfriend had died of leukemia.
What?
And he was I'm playing through the pain. And the news and the networks all had pictures of his girlfriend with a quote that was just play through it, baby. Don't miss any games for me. And then she died, and then he was a hero, and they upset Michigan State. Okay. And it turns out it was all a hoax. She didn't exist. someone or someone plus MT either concocted this person on Twitter, used doctored photos that couldn't be reverse image searched, like had some other woman talk to him on the phone every night. They never met in person, and it was just like a Twitter relationship that like happened.
Okay.
And he like either he was complicit or he like completely fell for it.
So like he fell in love with somebody over Twitter. The version of this where he's innocent is he fell in love with someone over Twitter who was dying of leukemia.
No, the version of this is that no, the version of this where he's innocent is somebody created a fake person.
Right. Right. He fell in love with a fake person over Twitter.
A fake person who, when the first time they were supposed to meet, mysteriously got into a car accident.
Okay.
And then towards the end, contracted leukemia and died right before this game.
Okay.
But none of these things happened.
Right,
It's
right,
horrible just to say,
Right.
but they did not happen.
Right.
So the thing is that if he was
And so Deadspin, and to give credit where credit is due, this came out on Deadspin yesterday. Tremendously reported piece. They dove into it. They looked for her name was Lenny. Lene, something like that.
Hold on. Yeah.
It's Lenay,
Yeah.
and every time I read it, it's
Lene Kakua.
Lene Kakua.
Sorry.
I mean, they looked for her birth certificate, they looked for birth announcements, they looked for a death certificate, they looked at the Social Security Administration. The story is they met at Stanford after a game. There's like a long piece in like the Notre Dame student newspaper, I think, or the South Bend Journal, like the local, about how the quote like stuck in my mind because it's like, how do you invent this if it didn't happen? Their stairs got pleasantly tangled after a game at Stanford. It's like it never happened because she's not real.
And there are other players that also claim she exists too.
Other random players claim that she exists. His dad was like quoting before this all came out. Deadspin like has this whole timeline, this lengthy timeline of their relationship that was reported by like 100 media outlets.
This is amazing.
But she didn't exist.
Right. This is incredible.
I really like. I do not want to think.
So they think it's his cousin. This guy,
really?
Tuiasosopo. I can't pronounce his first name, but his last name
Who's
is
pranking him?
Or there was cahoots.
I mean, okay, if they were like inclusion, like there are so many like little intricate details. What does he get out of this? Like, what is his motive to make up a girlfriend and like draw into this all for months and months on end, and then have her die just to sell a Heisman story?
Yeah, it's the Heisman story.
Yeah.
But like all of that to me is like whatever. Like,
yeah.
What about the grandma
hoaxing.
stuff?
That's true.
That's true.
She did
and
die.
also tragic.
Oh.
But like it's just funny because
I thought you said none of it was true.
Well, sadly the grandmother part was very true.
Yes.
But it's all the stuff about the girl. But the thing is, like, this only happens because of the internet. Like, and that's that's the flip side to this other story, where it's like all this tragic stuff we don't know how to deal with, and then all this stupid nonsense. And it's like the media never even like looked at it. Like they saw that she had a Twitter account that was like kind of active, and they're like, "Yep, she must be real."
Right.
And like that's it. But it's actually like a dude.
Or delivery.
What? I hear a pizza commercial.
DiGiorno or delivery?
I'm literally listening to a pizza commercial in my headset right now. Are you guys watching pizza commercials in there?
Wow. All right.
I just got one of these.
Okay, so there's really not much more to say about this. It's tragic. It never would have happened years ago.
Although I don't think it's tragic. I think it's stupid.
I mean, look.
How is this a tragedy? And define in which way is this a tragedy?
If he was not complicit in this,
then he's stupid. I'm sorry.
I feel bad
I've
for the
had
guy.
long distance girlfriends before. I know you have.
Yes.
You're just a long distance kind of bro. I feel like you would do best with a long distance relationship.
I don't think I've had a long distance.
But I'm saying, I think if you had to pick one type, I think you would pick long distance.
No, I'm kind of scared of that.
Like you would pick short distance, medium range relationship.
This is not steak.
No, I've had a long distance relationship, and there's no way.
Right.
I'm sorry, and I've known college football players.
This is the part where I
way
definitely side with you.
He's not asking for more information. If you understand
And
what
what
I'm
do you
saying.
mean by more information,
I think
Nelly?
in this age of Snapchat,
this is where the doctored photos come in.
I disagree. I completely disagree.
Doctored photos.
There's no way that he didn't know.
Really?
I'm just saying, I've had long distance relationships before, and there's just no way that these stories about
He's a busy guy.
I used to go to sleep and I would wake up and my call had run for 8 hours and I could still hear her breathing. That shit's not true, man. I was 16. I used to try to do that too. And you know what happened? My call hung up because I was just doing nothing on the phone.
Right. But I mean, there's convenient lies. Like, I like that I have something of this, and then like, I don't know.
It's a lie.
I feel bad.
There's no part of
I
this
blame
is
it
a
on
tragedy.
testosterone and the want to believe in this lie. Like,
I disagree. Whatever.
all right.
That's my feeling on this.
Okay. So,
But I'm just saying, like, this is a story that only exists because we allow
What I would like to
allow
believe
things that happen online to feel this real.
What I'd
And
like
we
to believe
we take them at face value.
is that there's more pranksters out there than we think, and a lot more of our friends are fake.
No, this is a movie and a show. It's called Catfish. Like this
I never
exact
saw that.
scenario
I
is
never
called.
saw that.
And when I said this, Russell and Tim wrote the report for us yesterday.
I've heard catfish being dropped as like a noun or like a verb, like
Catfishing.
like a general.
Yeah. No, so when I was like,
Term,
Russell,
yeah.
you should write this up. Literally, his response to me was, well, catfishing is real. Like everybody, to him, it was like, oh, this happens all the time, which makes me worry about Russell.
Maybe
frankly,
Russell is a catfish.
Probably. He's probably catfishing me right now. I've got some real babes. in
No,
my Twitter
I'm just
feed.
hoping that I have a friend who is not real. I think that's fun.
probably true.
That's
Yeah.
exciting. That keeps things spicy.
It keeps things spicy.
You know?
Well,
Unless you're looking for a Heisman Trophy,
yeah.
then you should probably keep it straight.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, look, I'll do
And
that.
either way,
I will
he-
make up a friend for you, Paul.
And to be clear, he
Thank
did
you.
not get the Heisman. So
And he lost to Alabama.
yeah.
And he lost so hard.
I mean, it's
was
just a
a good
ridiculous
game.
story. And it's funny that, where was I reading it today? I think it was on SB Nation. SB Nation has a headline up that's, why do we care about this story? And the lead is like, everybody cares about the story. There's like an angle for everybody into the story. Like, there's usually like, no matter what the big mainstream media story, there's always some sort of backlash against it. There's no backlash against the story. It's always like, it's just everybody wants a piece of it.
It's just
Including
so,
us, like we're talking about it right
It's
now.
so bizarre. Like I can't even wrap my head why someone would do this so intricately.
Why he would have a fake girlfriend? I mean, like, imagine you're his friend and he's like, I've got a girlfriend that I've never met, but I love her on Twitter. There's just no way.
Well, her name is Vancouver. She lives in Alberta.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're done. You're fired.
Done. On that
A
note.
beautiful girl in the Niagara Falls area.
Yeah.
I met her on summer break, and we did stuff
You did.
with our bodies.
Tweeted at each
Yeah.
other.
Okay, we should end this
That
before I
is-
say sexo.
And on that note, everybody.
That's my new sexy nickname. Eli and I were working on it. It's called Sexo.
Workshopping it. Oh man, you're real sexo.
All right.
So if you want to be my imaginary friend,
Sexo.
you can refer to me as Sexo.
We should really end this.
This is it.
Let's see if I can remember everything.
Okay.
So that's the Vergecast, everyone.
That's number one.
Can we turn off the lights?
Hey, where
now?
is Josh today?
Josh is sick.
And Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Paul was late to the Vergecast today.
That's
because
right. Well, I
he was-
bumped the Vergecast from 4 to 4:30 because
He was assisting
Yeah.
a Girl Scout.
yeah, I was walking Girl Scouts across the street and then helping them sell cookies at the office.
How'd you do? How'd they do?
Oh, I think we did really well.
Did you buy me some Samoas?
I think the Girl Scout organization is going to continue to be solvent for another year. at least.
What is the best cookie though? What did you get?
I got the
Samoas.
coconut ones.
Oh, I think they changed the name.
It's not
There's
Samoa?
a Samoa.
But I think didn't they change the name to Caramel Delights?
This
This is not Vergecast material
I don't know.
here.
This is
They
absolutely Vergecast
They
material.
sold, they sold me cookies over the phone, and so I got coconut and something else, and then
Yeah.
they came into the office and they sold everybody lots of cookies.
That's good.
So we're gonna have a lot of Girl Scout cookies at the office
Well, I should have bought some.
pretty soon.
All right, so let's go on the list. So this is the Vergecast.
This
You
is
got
the
that?
Vergecast. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for experiencing this with me.
Not giving you another one for that.
So sexo.
I'll give you sex though. All right.
Paul, it's gonna be a hit, man. It's gonna be huge.
This is a whole new look for me.
Sexo.
All right.
That was it. There's many ways to contact us and complain about what you just witnessed.
All right.
You can send us an email, podcast@theverge.com. You can leave a comment on the post, which is, I think, preferred. You can call us somehow.
Can they leave us a voicemail?
I don't know.
No,
You
they
cannot.
can't.
You
Shoot.
cannot call us. I'm
But
sorry.
you can call Eli's home phone here. Let me get you.
Please. You can hit us on Twitter. I'm Reckless.
I'm Ono Roscoe.
I'm Sexo.
Paul is Sexo.
At Sexo.
Can we get at Sexo
I'm
for
gonna
Paul?
find
I
out
bet
who
someone's
has
getting
at
it right now.
Sexo right now.
Josh, if you miss him, is at Joshua Topolsky. Verge is at Verge. And you can, Paul, what's your P.O. box?
P.O. Box 501, New York, New York, 10276.
And what I would really like someone to do, how many days do you have left before you come back?
It's about 3 months.
3 months? I'd really like somebody to
3.5
figure out
months.
the number of days and mail Paul a card that counts down every day.
Oh my god!
So that every day when you check your mail, like
Well, you're assuming the post service will actually get there on time at the very day you ask it to.
I mean, if you just start,
The post service is surprisingly reliable. You know, if you mail a letter to somebody in the city, they get it the next day.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
By the way, guys,
This is your task. You are, and how much it costs to spend the
don't
letter? Do
don't
this thing.
waste your time.
Do this thing. For
But
me.
if you want to be my imaginary friend, please send me a letter.
Oh man. By the way, guys, Sexo already exists. It has almost 7,000 followers.
Shoot.
And it only has one tweet from January 2010. Just says where lowercase WE''RE. That is it. That is the extent of Sexo.
You're going down.
And 7,000 followers.
Well, why wouldn't you? If you
'Cause it's
if you were
Sexo.
on the tweets,
I'm,
you know, and you're like, hey, it's at Sexo.
I'm
I'd
following.
hit
I'm
that
following
follow.
Sexo now. I'm happy.
Why wouldn't you? All right, that's the Vergecast, everybody. Thank you for watching whatever this was. Thank you to Chris. I don't know if you're still here.
Chris?
Chris is at Z Power, by the way.
Yeah,
That's it.
he's gone.
He's on a train.
Rock and roll.
Paul.
Paul.
Sexo.